Do you all have imitation feces?
Oh,
I'm looking.
I don't.
You sound like Ted Levine from Silence of the Lambs.
Recently find myself in the market for some imitation fecal matter. I was wondering if perhaps you might have some at this fine establishment. I suppose what I'm really trying to say is, y'all got fake poo?
Yes. All right. I think that means it's time to start.
Okay.
Yeah. Hello and welcome to episode 575 of the Player One Podcast for Tuesday, November 14th, 2017. I'm your host, Chris Johnson. With me, as always, from Canada, Mr. Greg Seward.
Hello.
How's it going?
Good. It's
Yeah?
getting cold. It's getting cold.
It's
pretty
getting cold down here. We're in the 40s.
I don't know what
Freezing.
that means. It's been like 3 or 4 degrees Celsius here in the mornings. There's the dew is freezing onto the grass. So
all right.
Yeah.
Kind of like that crunch, like when you go outside and you walk along the grass when
I love it. Yeah, gotta love
dew
it.
freezes.
Yeah, it's great.
Just saying.
Especially if you have
and
no
I just
natural
sneak outside
protection to keep the heat into your skull.
I just sneak outside and dump cornflakes on the ground every morning.
Oh, there you
You
go.
get that same
Also
sensation.
satisfying. Yes.
Yeah.
And joining us from the great state of Washington, Mr. Filthy Evolved.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah.
I'm fine.
Okay. It's gonna be one of those shows, huh?
Yeah. That's up to you, Johnston.
Oh, at least we get to hear about Bubsy this week, right?
What could possibly go wrong?
Joining us from the great state of California, Mr. Ethan Einhorn. Hello.
Hello, the warm, sunny state of California. I was taking my run today in shorts, a t-shirt, and a hat to make sure that I didn't get a sunburn. It is nice out here.
All
You know,
right.
Ethan, you are hard enough to like on a good day.
Well, I'm jealous of that weather. That
Pretty
sounds nice. It sounds
Yep.
very nice. It was overcast here in ATL. It was not warm.
ATL.
That's
Call
right.
me crazy,
Uh-huh.
but as someone who spent like 15 years in California,
Mhm.
I'm kind of appreciating seasons.
Yeah.
Seasons are good.
I kind of have to admit I'm not really missing the lack of seasons.
You know, for me, it's fine to visit seasons. So this holiday, I'm probably going to go back to the Midwest to visit the family. I can enjoy the winter for a nice 4 or 5 days, and then come back to warmth and comfort.
I guess.
There you go.
I guess.
Just don't have to
Well.
be such a dick about it.
Oh,
How's-
totally.
How's
Yeah,
how's that state's economy going for you?
that's fine. Fine for us here. Yeah.
Is it? Is it though?
Yeah.
Might want to check the papers.
All right. Greg, do
Hi.
you want to kick off the show and do some of this stuff you put on the outline?
Yeah, I'm gonna try something here just so people can see that I'm randomizing this properly. So I'm gonna try screen sharing for everybody.
Oh,
who's
jeez.
Oh
Yeah, I know
boy.
this- none of this will go right.
I'm going to see all your folders.
Yeah, well, you're gonna see all my tabs.
Yep.
This one's labeled work stuff.
All
Insert
right,
Phil
so-
joke about porn here.
I
Pornhub,
have-
Pornhub, Pornhub,
Okay,
Pornhub.
all right. Let's everybody just relax.
How
Hey, I
many?
see myself. I see myself.
So I'm using randompicker.com. I think you can see this. Hopefully you can see
Random-
this.
YouTube.
You can see this?
I'm seeing YouTube.
I'm just looking at YouTube.
I chose the wrong screen to share.
Now it's like when you put a mirror in front of a mirror and you have to get that.
Yeah.
infinite-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hang on. We're gonna get
Very,
this
very
right.
meta.
We're gonna get this-
Extremely
Okay,
meta.
there we go. That's the one we wanted. Okay.
Ah.
So we've been saying this all year. The Player One podcast has donated to Super Nintendo Classics
That's right.
to give
Two.
away for Extra Life, and for every $5 that was donated, your name was put into a draw for this, and we're going to do that draw right now. It's not going to be too dramatic, but I've put everybody's name into the randompicker.com project, weighted them based on how much money they donated, and we're going to go to the final draw now, as long as I'm still logged in.
I like how you just have a bookmark that just says Robotech.
no.
Yeah, I noticed the same thing.
What are we doing here?
I
don't
it's
know.
not working.
Oh no!
The
You know what? We're gonna fix this.
magic of the internet.
We're gonna use the test draw because that'll
Okay.
work. Here we go. And James Margaris and Neil Sherman
All right.
are
Those are our winners.
those are our winners.
Read those names again.
James Margaris and
Yeah.
Neil Sherman.
Awesome.
All right.
So
That is great.
congratulations, you have won Super Nintendo Classics from Player One podcast. We'll be shipping those out. I need you guys to get a hold of me somehow. I know how to get a hold of Neil actually, and I'll be reaching out through Extra Life as well to try to get a hold of you. But
There you go.
congratulations and thank you so much for your donations this year. Really appreciate that. That's
Boom
it.
shakalaka.
It was that easy.
Little does Greg Stewart
you
know
got-
that
you got-
James Margaris is my alter ego that I use to win online contests. So
Really?
I just got me another SNES classic.
So, which of those two alter egos is the superhero alter ego?
Neither. We're both
What a
we're
wrinkle.
both miscreants.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got another entry here on the outline. Did you want to?
I do about you talking about the Night Trap.
Yeah.
So the Night Trap that was also donated. Well, it was donated by Phil, but I guess through the Player One podcast.
It's
you can say
it's
that.
the player one. We can say
Yeah,
the player one.
that's all
part.
right.
I
That's
right.
don't need this glory, Greg.
Well, you know what? I'm going to give it to you. Phil kindly donated a copy of Night Trap for the PlayStation 4 earlier this year to be used to help raise funds for Extra Life, and that
Physical version from
yes, the
limited
physical
run
version.
games.
Yes.
sealed
Very
physical
nice.
version with the reversible cover and the card and all the little goodies. And that is up on eBay right now, and we will put the auction link in the show notes.
Absolutely.
And it is up
Sweet.
for 6 more days as of this recording.
So go
Good
bid
deal.
early, bid often.
Bid early, bid often.
It's for a good cause.
Yes.
Indeed. All right. Let's talk about video games, shall we?
We just were.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh,
technically,
well, I
we were talking
mean-
about the SNES Classic. We were talking about Night Trap.
News. Let's do news and stuff.
Is this news?
Ghost.
Greg just
Ghost
gave
of
away
Tsushima.
2 SNES Classics.
We
That's
didn't
news.
talk about Ghost of Tsushima last week.
did that?
Sucker Punch's new game for the PS4 announced at Paris Games Week. That news kind of got eclipsed, and actually the trailer. I mean, it's all CG, right? It's all just pre-rendered stuff. It looks cool, but
It's nice to know what they're working on.
yeah.
Yeah.
In about 2 years, maybe we'll be playing it, and I'll be happy about that.
Well,
I love all of Sucker Punch's stuff.
And I also love that Sony, as a publisher, is allowing people to continue to create new brands. That's super cool.
Absolutely. Sure. All right. Nintendo news.
Oh, good. This is my favorite part of the show.
Whose was
Hey,
that?
we got the first of our video apps on the Switch this past week.
But
Hulu.
wait. I was told that the Switch didn't need video apps.
It doesn't need it.
Doesn't need it. I didn't download it.
Okay.
Even though I'm a Hulu subscriber,
Right.
I did not download it because
You didn't download it.
No, I only use video apps on either the Apple TV or maybe the iPad. So I really have no interest in having it take up space in that fridge.
I don't know. I'll tell you, I'm
a
a little disappointed by this news, just
Yeah.
because I enjoyed the Switch as the last bastion of pure gaming hardware. Like it just does what it's made for, and nothing else.
I know, and when you have to
So,
pay for
you
a
know,
subscription to
I
see
know.
the content, it
I-
really cheapens the whole
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
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 Yeah, I downloaded it, said neat, and have only used it once to just see how it looks and works. I don't know if I'm going to use it that much. I mean, I didn't use the app on the Vita very much.
Yeah.
Didn't use it much at all on the phone. If anything, this is the handheld device that is most often in my hand. So I might
In your
use it
purse.
more. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think the
And
other
the satchel.
issue, of course, is we've kind of had some awesome content on that machine for
True.
the past couple weeks. So it's neat that it's there.
Yeah. Who needs video apps? Nobody needs video apps. I'm surprised actually
I
that
watched some Hulu on there.
it beat Netflix onto the Switch, which is a
Yeah.
little surprising. But
Yeah.
Actually,
I can't use it because we don't have Hulu here. So
Oh, really?
There's
Yeah, no,
apparently a reason for that. A lot of the guys that worked at Factor 5 are working on all of the Hulu stuff. This is according to NBC. They had an interview with the ex-CEO of Factor 5. So apparently that relationship is one of the reasons why it was fast-tracked.
All right.
Interesting.
Ah,
Cool. Well, now you can watch all your shows.
Apparently, there's that. Was it the documentary about the Dana Carvey show?
Yeah, that's on
which
Hulu.
I'm dying to see.
Yeah. And the new Sarah Silverman show, which is very funny and very explicit.
Shocking.
that's weird because she's usually really family friendly.
That's right.
Well, she was in she was in Wreck-It Ralph.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Touche, which is based in large part on her stand-up routine.
Yeah.
Entirely on
true. Yeah. Wow.
Yes, indeed. So this week is going to be a pretty big week on the Switch because we got LA Noire launching at the end of the week.
Yes.
And we
So
got
big, you're
Rocket
going to need a
League.
micro SD card.
Going to be
LA
How
Noire
big
is-
the week's going to be?
LA Noire is Tuesday. And so is Rhyme,
Wow.
and so is Batman.
that's right.
The Telltale game.
LA
It's
Noire
Skyrim
is,
that's at the end of the week.
That's
LA
right.
Noire is
Yeah.
Tuesday about 5 years ago, I believe.
Yeah, I think that was about right.
Don't care. Still excited. Have it totally paid off. Cannot wait to pick up.
I love.
And they made
by the
some,
way,
they made some changes too. They made a change to the interrogation UI.
Yeah.
For this.
Yeah.
That'll make the game
I am
totally
it's
better.
good because that was the problem. That was like, in all seriousness,
Part of
that
the
was one of
problem.
the big problems with the game.
Yeah.
I
Part of
am
the
so
problem.
much more excited about that than like Battlefront 2 or anything else that's coming out this week. Interesting that Rocket League's coming out. That's a big one as well.
Yeah, it is a big one. Yeah,
I
on
can't wait to
Tuesday.
hear your impressions of that one, Ethan.
hmm
Did you play a lot of it on PS4?
I've never played it.
Never played it.
Nope.
Wow. Such
All
a big
right.
game.
It was,
You'd
a free,
think,
it was free on PS Plus.
I know. I downloaded it. I just never got around to it.
Oh,
It's a
okay.
good game.
Okay.
Yeah, I've heard
is
it's
a
a
very
very
good
good
game.
game.
Yeah. And this one has crossplay with people on PC and Xbox. I don't think PS4.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Doesn't
That's
Sony push
right.
back against that stuff?
It's
Yeah.
it's
Sony's-
also 60 frames a second, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah, for sure. And it's got
That's good
local
stuff.
play, local multi-switch play, and all that good stuff. So yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to it. I played a little bit of it on PS4, but didn't really get huge into it. And you know, any online game that's I'm gonna be able to play away from the television is good, or while somebody else is using the television is always good. So
Yep.
looking forward to it. And of course, the title that everybody's been waiting for. Battle Chef Brigade from Adult Swim Games comes out on Switch. Here comes the commercial. Just in time for Thanksgiving on Monday, the 20th of November. So that
That's
Thanksgiving
not what
week
Thanksgiving is.
start that Thanksgiving
Thanksgiving. That's like over a month late for Thanksgiving.
week. Just
And as somebody who doesn't work for Adult Swim, I can say that the game looks beautiful. The art style is really cool, and so you should check out the video trailer of it. It really looks neat.
well, thank you, Ethan. Your check is in the mail. Thank you for that.
You'll be on the show
Endorsement.
next week.
But yeah, it comes out on Monday next week. So that's super exciting. Our first game on Switch. Incredibly excited for.
I liked what I
Congratulations.
saw of it at PAX.
It is a fantastic game.
I'll
is
say
really-
that.
Really fun. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Would you say it's the reason to finally own a Switch?
it's the reason for the season.
If
And
you
yes.
could only get one Switch game,
It would be Battle Chef Brigade, of course.
well, Battle Chef Brigade or LA Noire, which one would you go
Battle
with?
Chef Brigade, no question.
I agree.
No
I
question.
agree. I agree.
Yes.
Hulu
All right.
or LA Noire? The
Hulu.
answer is Hulu. The answer is Hulu.
The answer there is Battle Chef Brigade again.
because LA Noire does not have Bob's Burgers on it.
I don't
So-
completely believe Phil on this. Next week, after I've played some LA Noire, I'll be able to be more able to check his tells to see if he's actually lying about this or not. But I think he's actually really
No,
excited about LA Noire.
if the original game is anything to go by, you will not be able to tell.
No.
So
No. I'll just suddenly start screaming at you for no
Yeah.
reason.
Yeah.
You'll say, Phil,
you'll
be
dabbing on
nice.
good cop over and over again, and Phil will
And
be
I'll
more and
just-
more upset.
And I'll just start cursing you out like you
Yeah.
wouldn't believe.
So is Mad Men on Hulu? Because I think that would be a nice mix to play a little LA Noire, then move over to Mad Men. It's the same cast, you know.
They both started at about the same time.
It's true. Yep, they're both about as old as each other.
Yeah.
I think Mad Men's
So-
on Netflix.
It is.
Yeah.
Ah,
Well, it is
Anyway.
here anyway. That doesn't mean anything, but
Yeah, Miiverse has closed.
It was still open?
sad story.
It was
Yep.
still open, yes, until
Yep.
last week. If you had set it up beforehand, like I did, you can request your post history from Miiverse, including
Did you?
screenshots and stuff like that. So
Did you get your post history yet?
no, you are going to receive it several weeks after. So they've
Okay.
closed everything down, and then they're going to send you an email that includes a link to a zip file.
Okay. Yeah,
It's so good that that's there for posterity because some of Phil's richest, most intellectually stimulating work was done on Miiverse. He used it as an
Agreed.
artistic canvas
And-
like few others.
All
Yeah.
the Garfield cartoons as well, and I did those too.
Yeah.
What?
Those are amazing. Oh,
I-
what? You haven't seen the Garfield cartoons?
no.
I posted some to Twitter recently.
I'll
like
be
last
totally
week-
honest. I think I entered the Miiverse twice.
Enter the Miiverse.
That's a shame. That's
that
a
was
shame.
and
Miiverse-
you're part of
and
the
got
problem.
Everything I needed out of it, and that was it.
Mhm.
Yeah. No, if you go to my Twitter account, just flip through the past week or so, I posted a bunch of Miiverse stuff that I drew.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I saw that.
That's good stuff.
If you like, well, then what are you saying? If you saw it?
Not in the Miiverse, I didn't.
Oh well, I don't care if you saw it in the Miiverse or not.
I'm just saying.
Did you
I
see it?
I saw your poop
That's-
emoji work.
Yeah.
That's it. And I've seen that before because you were shoving it down everyone's throat back when it happened.
Yeah, I like to shove poop down everyone's
I
throat.
know. Trust me.
Hmm.
I know that they
All
were
too
going
familiar with that.
You worked with me.
I know Nintendo is going for the snappiest possible user interface for Switch, but I am disappointed that the Miiverse did not carry over because
I mean,
worked
nobody used it.
on Switch.
You know
Nobody
what I
used
like
it.
better than that? The Twitter integration that Nintendo has going, especially
Yeah.
now that you can do the video clips. Like I've
Oh,
seen a
yeah.
lot of really
Yeah.
amazing Zelda and Mario Odyssey videos on Twitter.
I
So-
can't wait until all the games support that. That's a really cool technology.
Yeah,
But
the only
I-
thing it doesn't have that Miiverse has or had at the time was the spoiler warning, so you can hide screenshots and posts and reveal them manually. So,
yeah,
be a
that would be
nice
nice.
that'd be a nice feature on Twitter. Twitter should add that. I mean, they did the 280 character thing. What's a couple more features to add? You know.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's talk about layoffs at Telltale.
25% of the whole company, 90 people.
Ouch.
That's right.
90 people.
That hurts.
Yeesh. Yeah.
They're doing a
That's
little
no
restructuring,
good.
and they're going to use outside technologies. I imagine that means Unity, since
How could it not?
Well, one of the board members is from Unity.
is
if I
Riccatello,
heard
yeah,
correctly.
who
Yeah.
is like the CEO of Unity.
That only
Yeah,
makes
right.
sense for the types of games they make too. It's not like they're looking for like really high. Not that Unity isn't high performant, but it's just you don't need to worry about it being crazy customized for the platforms you're on.
Or buggy like their last.
Yeah, their
Engine.
engine was getting really rickety, and why not do that rather than reinvest in building a whole new one?
Yeah.
Well, you got to wonder also. I know that there is probably a difference between, say, the Wolf Among Us audience and the Game of Thrones audience, but by and large, there's such a heavy crossover of customers with all these games that I think they were just creating too many games. I don't think anyone was able to keep up with all of those games at once.
I would be
And it's a shame.
curious how many people were even trying to keep up with those games all at once.
Yeah.
I go back. I mean, it being one of the people that was crazy about their games when they first started. Not when they first started coming out so much as when they hit with The Walking Dead and with Back to the Future. And for as disappointing as Jurassic Park was, it's something that I was very excited about. And there was a time when I was one of the people who immediately played anything they released. But you got to wonder, how much were all those licenses costing them? First of all,
Yeah,
No.
sure.
it can't have been cheap. And I would have really loved to have known what kind of sales numbers they were getting, and then there was always that case of the episodic games. You never knew when the next episode was coming out, And I've complained about this so many times before on the show. If you were an early adopter, you missed out on discounts, basically, like before the series was even over, almost every single time.
And that became such a consistent and predictable thing that you
consistent,
knew you were going to get.
It's like, here's a 5-episode series. You can buy it for $50. Oh, by episode 3, it'll be on sale for $25. And you still haven't seen all the content you paid for.
Yeah.
So, it's, I mean, I hope they turn it around, because I do love a lot of what they do, but they've really got to get to a place where their engine is in better shape and less buggy, which if they're going to use Unity or something, they should be able to cover that. Mm-hmm. And they need to get to a set schedule for the releases and not screw over the people who buy day one or even within the first 3 episodes.
Right.
Yeah.
Do your sale after you've released all 5 episodes.
Yeah.
Well,
in happier news, I suppose, although it could be said this is also maybe negative. EA has bought Respawn.
I can't interpret negative or positive.
So, which I saw a lot of people say, no, all right, when are they going to close Respawn? Like,
no, for me, the bigger thing
is the Reaper.
I think Titanfall 2 was brilliant. I think it was one of the best games of last year. And I was really happy about the fact that that was a game that had a lot of additional content. But again, it was all real dollar prices. It was really great. And I hope that they're allowed to continue doing that.
Well, and allegedly they're going to work on Titanfall 3 at some point after they're done with the Star Wars game that they're currently working on.
I want to back that up a little bit, though. It wasn't Respawn that was allowed to do that. That was an EA policy. How they price things is not something that the developer is going to decide.
I actually, in Respawn's case, that may have been Respawn deciding.
All right, sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, in general, I don't know. I would rather sit here and say I hope that they get the creative freedom to do interesting and good games rather than make sure that their games don't have unclear pricing.
Yes.
I'm just hoping they are still able to have a reasonable level of autonomy wherever you're looking for that, whether it's content or...
I think
BioWare probably has that. If any other studio is going to have it under the EA label, it's BioWare and Respawn, right?
Yeah.
Well, although I still think there'll be 1 or 2 bad, poor performing games away from not having it. But I think that the same can be said about any studio that EA buys.
That's true. That's true. That's very true. All right. Well, I think then we shall move into what we've been playing. What do you think about that?
Sure.
Okay.
Seems like it was inevitable.
Yeah, pretty much. Greg.
I finished Mario Odyssey this week.
All right.
All right. And by finished, you mean you finished the main story?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
should we call out spoiler warning at this point?
So mark it as a spoiler. I'll do a
Hey,
chapter.
Greg.
Yeah.
I still beat that game before you.
I know.
True. We all
feel?
did. We all did, right?
Yep. I'm better than you, Greg. Better than you. 'Cause I beat Mario first.
So,
I don't even want to talk about it now.
what did you think? What did you think?
It's incredible. That game is incredible.
Mhm.
I had trouble putting it down once I got into it, and smiling most of the time I was playing it. We talked about this a lot last week about the balancing and all that sort of thing. Man, that end game sequence was... I'm so glad that I managed somehow to get through the main story without being spoiled at all. And I'm not normally a person that really cares too much about that. And I wasn't going out of my way to avoid it. I just got lucky. I mean, I guess with that game, it should be said that I never went out of my way to find information about it. It's like, okay, I saw the original trailer. I know I'm going to play this when it comes out. I don't need to know anything more about it at this point.
Yeah. You didn't watch any of the Nintendo Directs?
Nope.
Yeah.
Though, one thing I got to say that bummed me out a little bit was that Nintendo themselves spoiled the big reveal of what unlocks at the end of the game by allowing you early to get there via one of the other lands.
Yeah, Greg did that on.
Actually, I
stream.
would argue
Oh, yeah?
that gave me more incentive. I happened to get on that, and CJ was watching the stream. I was streaming the game one night. It was last week or the week before, and that I got to that particular point,
Oh,
which was
you
funny
found the
because
hidden-
CJ was telling me
Nice.
that he'd seen that portrait in that world,
It was
but
blank.
it didn't have an image on it, so he couldn't go through it. So I was. I mean, you can go back and watch the stream archive. I was giddy. I mean, I was,
That's awesome.
I was,
Yeah.
I was grinning, and I was just like had this, just a stupid look on my face because I was so happy. I was like,
Did you
tingling.
get the quote unquote moon from there?
Yeah,
And see that it's not a moon. Yeah.
yeah. That's what I mean. Like everything about it, and you can see, you could see the main world off in the distance. I loved the reference, as far as like what that scene was referencing, what game it was referencing.
Mhm, mhm.
'Cause there was a lot more going on there than just that new world. No, I thought it was great. I don't think they spoiled anything. I think it was a fantastic reveal. And then it's sort of okay. Now I know I'm going to be able to get there at some point, and I sorted it out. But it didn't make me any less excited to unlock that world.
Yeah,
That's good to know. Yeah.
Also, if you find that place and go in there, and you're like, "Oh my god!"
Yes.
Yeah,
I was
absolutely.
playing a lot of that content in front of my daughter who hadn't finished the game yet, but in that case I knew it was all good because she didn't ever see the original reference material that would evoke nostalgia. So she's not played the game. It's
Sounds like some parents not doing his job.
Yeah.
oh, that's right.
Her
I'm supposed to
education
show
is
the game
complete.
sequentially, right? That's how it must be done.
Yeah.
Yeah. Make them
Went out and
relive
bought her
your
a Switch.
childhood.
Went out and bought her a Switch. Never even had her playing the N64 games.
Yep.
That is back asswards, my friend.
Wow.
Yep.
You better qualify that you're being sarcastic, by the way.
Am I?
Okay, so you liked the ending.
Yeah, the end game sequence was great. I mean, it was pretty obvious that's what was going to happen, I think, at one point. As far as, how you got out of the caves at the end. But no, I loved everything about it. I mean, we've already called it a spoiler warning, going to the moon was great. And the fact that gravity's lower when you're there, and then, with the chapel at the end. I don't know. Everything
was
about
great.
it. I have
Yeah.
zero complaints about that game. I really do.
So video game logic and all that, but so at the wedding at the end of the chapel, all of these people in the various worlds that you've been through before, they've been harmed by Bowser. They, things have been stolen from them. Yet they're all at the wedding.
I assume that
Weddings are fun.
I just assumed he was holding them hostage.
They seem to be.
I assume they were forced to be there.
Well, I don't know.
No.
They seem to be there of their own free will.
Wedding. Everyone loves a good wedding.
They're there for the reception, the buffet.
Let's be fair about it. They don't seem happy.
Yeah.
When Mario runs in, they're like, "Oh, just in time." They're happy that it's going to be broken up.
I mean, there was no voice acting, so I just assumed that Mayor Pauline was like, "Oh, great, you're finally here. Now somebody can stop this from happening." Yeah.
Well, she doesn't. I don't know she doesn't speak. CJ, it's all text.
I know. Well, she sings.
Well, I mean, you're the one.
She has a
affecting the
voice. She has a voice.
Yeah, but okay.
But yeah. So that's what I imagined the line reading would have been had it been fully fixed. That's what I'm saying.
You're so negative.
Well, and
Look at
I'm
everything so
also
negatively.
so happy when you finish that game that those silver boxes, the way they work to unlock.
I
all
still
these
don't know how that
different
works
things.
yet. Actually,
Now you're kind of spoiling it for Greg.
yeah, I don't know that.
Okay,
part. Sorry.
that's not really it. But
Yeah,
the
no,
thing
this
is
one-
Every
not
time,
a
just so you
spoiler
know, every
now.
time you say this isn't really a spoiler, generally you're spoiling something. But go ahead.
all right. I'm just saying that it would be fine if they had it set up so that you would go back to the earlier areas and find all the moons you could have found before but didn't. But I love that in addition to those, you have a whole new range of activities on every single planet that you couldn't access until you finish the game.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you go back to the levels and you can activate something that releases.
Well, I mean,
a bunch
it's
of
pretty
moons.
clear. There's a correlation there. I mean, those stones are all over the place on the moon. So
Right,
Yes.
right, exactly.
so yeah.
How many
How many moons did you have when you?
Oh gosh, I don't remember. I honestly, it's funny because we were talking about, and I know that Ethan was being sarcastic when he said this about every moon telling a story, but at least I hope you were.
Was he?
Yes.
I actually would say that I stopped giving a damn about the number of moons I had.
Yeah.
Again, because I guess the game was balanced so well, which we talked about last week, is that I never ever felt, I was never in a position where it's like, oh God, I need to get at least 4 more moons. Like,
Right. They're so plentiful.
Balance. They're so plentiful that I felt like I would always get sort of through the main, the critical path of each world and end up with more moons than I needed. So
Yeah.
I didn't care, but I also didn't keep track of how many I had. So I couldn't tell you how many I have now because I've gone back and started getting some more. But like I don't know, 200 some maybe.
I have 480 now.
My goodness.
Yeah, that's great. The thing I love is that so many games really have to stretch the limited content they have by forcing you to grind and get a certain number of things before moving on to the next event. And what's great about Mario is it has all of that content. It has tons of stuff it could throw at you, but for the sake of pacing, just gives you the smoothest possible ride to the end of the game.
Yeah.
And then lets you explore. I just love that
it really
structure.
The pacing it's really quick too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that that's one of the many reasons people are responding with 10s. It's just that 12 to 20 hours that you spend in that first part of the game is perfect from a pacing perspective.
I have seen people on Twitter, voicing their displeasure with the game, or maybe not displeasure exactly, but they don't understand why it's getting so many 10s.
Really?
Yeah. I've seen a few people.
What are some
Jake
reasons?
Castle from 17-bit. Yeah.
Yeah. Is just disappointed in the game. Thought Galaxy was better.
What? Well, I mean that's fair. I
That
mean
is
I don't know.
fair,
Is he actually disappointed in the game, or does he just think Galaxy is better? Because what you're saying are two kind of
Both.
majorly different things there.
Both.
Yeah,
You
he
think
is
things.
saying both.
But yeah, I mean I think it's fair to think that Galaxy is better. Galaxy was a great game.
Well, I think also you could say you like a more linear Mario game over the sort of open world Easter egg hunt of Odyssey.
I'll be honest, that was my major concern about the game when they first showed it back in the day, where it was like, because I mean, they've played with open world before. I mean, you could make the argument that like even Mario 64 is really open world, but not like this, right? Like, I mean, with something like Mario 64, you went into each level with a mission. And I mean, you could unlock other stars along the way, but no, I could totally see that. Although, is that the main thing you're seeing when you say that you're seeing people complaining about it, that they would rather that it was more linear?
No,
I think that's what it comes down to, though. Honestly,
it comes down to that. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I mean, the thing is there's tons and tons of content after you finish the game, but it just lets you tackle that however you choose. And so what I've been doing, what I've heard a lot of other people are doing, is I'll go back to the worlds and sequentially find all of the moons. But it's not like once you find all the moons, something special unlocks, and so you have to just kind of be self-satisfied with that accomplishment.
I think more than anything, I'll be going back to unlock. I think I'm more interested in go back and finding all the purple coins in most worlds, because I like to unlock all the costumes. Just to sort of, that's probably the extent of the completionist in me. Because I'll be honest, talking again about how many moons there are, I do feel like there are way too many. In that I get to a point where you look at the list, and it's just over. If you look at the list in any world, it's kind of overwhelming. Where it's just like, oh wow, there's lots of stuff here, and that's awesome.
If you're
that's
a completionist, yes,
sure.
Or
to go back to, if you want to make sure that your relatively short, I think reasonably length single player game needs to be able to be played for 100 hours. This is how Nintendo's doing it.
Well, and I will say this: I would prefer if it was structured so that when all the new events that unlock in the world are played through, those are all really well structured. None of those moons seem to feel as arbitrary as some of the ones that you can find from the get-go.
That's true.
If you were in a position where you were encouraged to get through that content in every world and you got something neat and it kept pushing you along that path, I think I'd prefer that a bit because what I'm finding is I do have that kind of completionist streak. So I just finished, for instance, the desert. I got all of the moons, and half of the moons that I had to find were really super fun to find, and then another half were kind of arbitrary and not that interesting.
Right. So I can see that being the complaint. And actually, Blair Farrell in our chat just mentioned Jack and Rich from previously recorded. Said something along the same lines where the moons are just so plentiful that they don't really feel special, and I would agree with that. They don't.
Yeah.
So they don't feel special to the point that I couldn't tell you how many I had when I finished the game.
Yeah.
But again,
Well,
for me, that's not something that affects the game all that negatively. It just it just
Sure.
is.
Sure.
I do really like the feeling though that even as I've quote unquote completed the game, it's something that I have this past week dipped back into several times and will continue to do that for months as I can play, 20 minutes
totally.
or 2 hours
Sure.
and find, a satisfying number of moons relative to the time I'm playing every time.
Yeah, I keep diving back into different worlds and finding 20 plus moons every single time. It's
So how many
great.
are there in the game?
I
Almost
think there's around
900.
900. Yeah,
Okay.
but then
thought it
There's
was
no way I'm getting
999.
near that number.
no, you can buy the maximum amount of moons you can have are 999, but the moons that you buy count into that, and those
yeah.
do not affect your list of the ones you've collected in the world. So
Oh, okay.
you can just buy an unlimited amount. The shops never run out of moons. So
Oh, okay.
No,
Yeah.
apparently they do. Someone mentioned that in our chat last week.
really,
They do.
okay.
But
Well,
it's,
then
there we
it's a
go.
huge amount.
It's
Take that,
it's a very
Johnston.
large amount. Yeah, I still think they could and should do DLC for this thing because
Yeah.
that'd be awesome.
It really seems set up for that for sure.
Also, Honeyloon Ridge Escape is my favorite song in the game. It's the other vocal song
Oh, really? Okay.
Okay.
that comes through. Yeah, it's in your sound. Now that you finished the game, you have a sound test as well.
I have to say too, my favorite costume in the game, and this is a spoiler, since we said spoiler warning. The 64-bit costume.
Oh yeah.
That's a great one.
It's ridiculous actually, but I love it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, that with the musical cues when you're collecting the stars and all of that, it really takes you back. It's great.
Completely.
Yeah.
And then you should, if you haven't already, you put on that outfit, and there's a door that opens in the Mushroom Kingdom, and you go in there, and there's a fun little sequence.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I will
'Cause
have to look at that.
If you haven't already run into this, like there's usually a locked door per world that you have to be wearing a specific costume to get in.
I did not know that.
And there's one on the Mushroom Kingdom, and it's quite fun.
So, have you, Greg, gone to the top of the castle yet in the Mushroom Kingdom?
No. I've done I've really run around the Mushroom Kingdom and just kind of looked. Haven't really
Okay.
done much with it. I'm doing actually one of the 8-bit sequence where you keep getting teleported in and out of the 3D world. The background move and you
that's
stay in
so
front of
great,
them.
yeah.
That's
Yeah,
a hard one.
It's a pretty cool little sequence. Yeah, I had to do it 4 or 5 times before I could get it, but
Yeah.
it felt really satisfying when I got it right.
So
So,
clever.
Definitely.
and I did one of the boss refights.
The remix
rematches.
bosses.
Right,
Don't,
Yeah,
don't you love that you jump into the picture to do that? That's such a great.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's
Reference.
great touch. Yeah, like I said, it's so full of wonderful little. And I found a Twitter thread the other day where they were calling out a lot of other little things that I think if you were really paying attention you'd notice, but I never actually did. Like little things like the fact that Mario does different things with his hands when you get the different moons, and they're all homages to 64 and I think it's 3D
Sunshine.
World and Sunshine. There are a ton of little touches like that all over the place
Oh yeah.
that they don't even call out. They're just sort of like a sly wink to fans. So yeah,
Nice.
the game's a masterpiece. There's no
Yeah.
getting around it. It's
Yeah.
easily jumped to probably one of my top 3 Mario games ever.
And in terms
yeah.
of fan service, I had thought it would be tough to beat the whole getting to play Crash Bandicoot in Uncharted 4 thing. But this tops it. The ending of Mario Odyssey tops that.
Yeah.
Really great.
Definitely.
Really great.
Just a satisfying game all over.
Yeah, it is. The other games I've been playing, I'm still playing through Resident Evil 7. Mentioned before
So
that I'm
good.
not playing it in VR
Are you
anymore.
still playing? Oh, you got to play in VR.
No, I
played the
can't.
whole thing in VR. It's so good.
You know
Mark
what?
McDonald would tell you the same thing.
No, okay, well, slow down there, Chief. I loved it in VR. I'm way too big a pansy to play it in VR. And the other problem is that I don't like. This might sound weird, and it's not that I don't want anyone to creep up on me, but
Right.
I don't feel okay playing that game even in VR when my kids are here.
Yeah.
It just feels. I don't
want to
feel.
want to knock your kid across the room.
Honestly, I don't even know if that would be a thing, but you never know, right? And but in all seriousness, like I just don't know. Yeah, I don't. It's weird because I don't mind playing VR games when they're here if they're in bed, but this one in particular, I don't want one of them appearing next to me, needing me for something
They
when
come up behind you
when my
for a
senses
hug.
are so height. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Well, and that
So-
game came out in January, and I hope that people remember that in the Game of the Year conversations. I know I sure will, but I think that was one of the year's best for sure.
oh, it's great. It's so good. And now I'm getting like the story. I think I'm getting near the end of the game because the story has just gotten completely turned around. So, yeah, pretty excited about that. And there's also like there was some DLC for that, right? There's a couple
Yeah,
Yes.
bits of DLC for it. So, but yeah, it's so good. I'm really enjoying it. But I've got to get it finished. And the other game that I played this week that I had never played before. This is a request from a donor on my Twitch channel. Lollipop Chainsaw.
Oh,
PlayStation
right.
3.
From the writer director of Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So it's a Suda 51 game, right? I believe
Yes. You're
it's
correct.
a Suda 51 game, but yeah, it's James Gunn
Yes.
wrote the story basically, I believe.
Huh.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard
It's-
it's bad though.
I don't know where you're hearing that from.
I heard that too.
Apparently I was told that this is like playing an Oni Chanbara game,
Uh-huh.
which
Uh-huh.
sure, okay. I don't know.
Those were also bad.
Ethan, I think you dig this game considering your penchant for booby games on your Vita. This is right up
It's
your
not
alley.
a personal penchant.
Yeah,
It is
whatever.
I'm
Yes.
collecting
You can
all
keep
of the
saying
games
it's not.
released in the
Yeah,
West.
I'm collecting all the porn I can find. I know.
Yeah.
But
Mm-hmm.
If you collect
No.
all the DVDs in the world, you gonna
Yeah.
have some pornography.
you gotta be DVD clear. But yeah, it's way over the top. It's very Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but to like the nth degree.
Mhm.
Yeah.
'Cause she's a zombie hunter. She's a cheerleader / zombie hunter, and it has all the crude jokes you can think of in it. And it was
Is it
fantastic.
funny,
I had
or is it-
so much fun. It is funny. It
is.
is
Okay.
stupid funny.
It's very funny. It's very stupid.
Yeah.
It doesn't play very well.
You don't think so?
I
think
don't.
The only problem I have with it is that where the chainsaw is her main weapon, it
Yeah.
moves too slow. She
Yeah.
swings it around too slowly. So that does end up being a problem. But once I had learned how to do some of the combos using the pom-poms,
Yeah.
so stupid. The combos using the pom-poms, I actually was having way more fun with it. I really enjoyed the whole experience. I got, I think, through the second level. An hour and a half?
As I was playing that game, all I could think of was how much more fun I would be having if it was like that exact same characters, exact same story,
With better
exact same
gameplay.
script, but done by Platinum.
Oh yeah, I think you're
Mm.
probably right there.
You know,
Having that level of polish would be nice.
Yeah.
For
I
sure.
don't know. You might get Legend of Korra or Ninja Turtles.
That's true. You could get
Hmm.
Platinum's B team. But no, I went into it thinking I was going to hate it. And it was just really stupid fun. And there's lots of nice little touches outside of the like extremely crass humor and everything. Things like when you use your like power up, Hey Mickey starts playing. There's a lot of licensed music in the game.
Yeah.
But yeah, like just Hey Mickey just starts playing while you're powered up.
Did you own the game before the request came in, by
I've
the way?
owned it for a long time.
Okay.
I got it cheap back in the day, saying I'll play this sometime, and never did.
And what are you playing it on?
The PS3.
Okay.
Yep. And then like when you go into the store, Lollipop plays.
That's
the-
nice.
Okay.
Yeah. It's just lots of nice little touches. I really, really enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun, and it's not normally a game I think that I would really play, but Somebody requested it because it's on my request spreadsheet, and really enjoyed it. Had loads of fun with it.
Cool.
Yeah. It's
I mean,
something that I
it's
would highly suggest. If you can find it cheap, definitely worth trying.
There's not enough gratuitous like let's touch panties for
Well, that's
Ethan,
why. Yeah,
I
that's,
think
that's why it was never on the beta.
Mhm.
Yeah.
you know. So, although I do believe I believe there is an achievement for trying to look up her skirt.
She actually, when she teaches you how to control the camera, the first thing she says is "No upskirt shots, you pervs,"
Well, okay,
or something along those lines.
but I believe if you try to, you end up with an achievement,
I would not be
or a
surprised.
trophy or something like that.
Mm,
So,
there you go.
Ethan,
Mhm.
maybe put that on your to-do
Camera
list.
score.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you should.
Yeah.
Not on Switch, but you should still try it out.
Yeah, I mean
All
it's no
right.
LA Noir.
But it's about the same age.
Yeah, it's about as old as
Yeah.
LA Noir.
Yeah.
Well,
And
if it
but the difference
comes
is you'll pay a
to it-
fair price for the old game in this situation. So
Alrighty.
yeah.
Phil, I want to
Yeah.
hear about a particular game that may or may not have climbed back to the top.
oh
of
god.
the yarn
You
ball.
want to know what love is?
Did you pay for it or did you get it for free?
You want Bubsy to show you. I played some Bubsy, the Woolies Strike Back,
Yes, you did.
with a review code provided to me by the good folks at Accolade.
Oh, okay.
Excellent.
So
Okay.
no, I did not buy Bubsy, the Woolies Strike Back.
Although it was from the developers of the Gianna Sisters game, so
It is
you
Black
Oh,
Forest.
I did not know that.
It is
Aha.
developed by Black Forest,
Mhm.
who developed the Gianna Sisters
You love that. You love that game.
Twisted Dreams, which is a good game.
Gianna Sister.
Which is a good game.
Yeah.
I've played a fair amount. Apparently, the game is not very long.
No,
From what I've heard,
I heard that Shipwreck from the CADcast beat it in like an hour and a half or so.
Wow.
Finished
You
the
must be-
game.
see, it's clearly set up as like a collectathon type
Okay.
game. You go into a level, and the idea is to go through and explore each stage and collect all the yarn balls in each level. And
Love it already.
you'll go into a stage and it'll say, okay, you now have 0 out of 700 yarn balls in this
Oh
stage.
my god.
And I'm just like, well, come on, guys.
Are you kidding? That sounds great. That's like
It's like Mario
6
Odyssey.
Mario
Like Mario
Odyssey
Odyssey,
games in
yeah.
one. That's amazing.
So, I the first couple worlds I did go through and try and collect as many of the yarn balls as I could, and got most of them. And it's certainly that will expand the length of the game. But if you just like,
Okay.
I'm just going to plow through this world and get from point A to point B, yeah, I could see it taking like an hour and a half to get through the game. It is my sad duty, and most of my duties are pretty sad. Mostly my diet.
Mm, mm.
I unfortunately I have to report that the Bubsy game is not terrible.
Okay.
I mean, it's not good.
You
Yeah.
know, it's funny
It
we say this
exists.
because we think about Bubsy 3D, but I remember the first Bubsy getting decent reviews back.
It
in the
did,
day.
yeah.
I don't know why
Yeah.
this should
The
be a
first two.
surprise.
The first two
Yeah,
games.
and I mean, just talking about who the developers are here, that shouldn't be a
Right.
surprise.
It's and
I'm
then
surprised that Accolade still exists. But
I
keep
was
going.
I don't know if Accolade really exists.
Well, I mean, they were bought by Atari at one point.
Oh, is that
You know,
how it
whatever.
works?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was posting about it on the Twitters a while ago, and someone, I forget who mentioned this, but someone responded to me saying, would you describe it as a poor man's Gianna Sister?
Hmm.
And yeah, I would. It for those of you who have played the Gianna Sisters,
it was not a
Twisted
bad
Dreams,
game.
It's not a bad game. It looks like a Gianna Sisters game. It has like that sort of the background design and the character designs. It looks kind of like that. Chris Hulsbeck, I believe, is his name, the composer
Mm-hmm.
The guy, he did the soundtrack for the Turrican games. He's been doing game soundtracks since like the old Commodore.
Those Turrican game soundtracks were fantastic.
Oh yeah. He's a great game composer.
Mm.
He did the soundtrack to it, so the soundtrack's good.
Okay.
It's the problem is, Gianna Sisters Twisted Dreams had that sort of mechanic where you switch back and forth between the light and dark world, and that you had to sort of juggle that mechanic throughout the game. This game just has jumping and kind of gliding, so there's really not much to the mechanics, and you don't get new abilities as you go through the game.
But to get all those signature Bubsy deaths, though, right?
Oh, that's right. He had all those death animations.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
was the big deal
thing.
back in the day.
That was the
Oh
big
yeah,
thing.
I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I wasn't really dying much because it's not a very difficult game, so I don't know.
Okay.
But yeah, it's just kind of there.
How are the
All right.
bosses?
It's variations of you're fighting little woolly things in a UFO, and it's just different patterns. So it's not like Mario where every boss is very different. You're kind of doing the same thing over and over again, just with different patterns.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean,
So he climbs on a yarn ball, but not necessarily to the top.
He certainly climbs onto a yarn ball.
Okay.
It's
Not to the top.
It's significantly better than Bubsy 3D. I'll tell you that much. And
Wow.
I know
So
how much
is it-
you
Not
love.
progress
It's not
on the
difficult to do.
Yeah,
Is it better than Ukulele as a nostalgia piece?
I don't know. I didn't play ukulele.
By all accounts, that was terrible.
I mean, I'm not a '90s kid, so I have no affinity towards rare platformers anyway. I never liked Banjo Kazooie.
Oh, there
Amen,
you go.
brother.
I never
it.
liked Banjo Tooie.
Ukulele was another just okay game.
Donkey Kong 64 is
I played
trash.
some of that.
We all knew that.
That's
Conquer.
not true. No,
Conquer is not.
Oh,
a
that's
good
right.
game.
CJ gave that like an A++++++, right?
no,
Donkey
not
Kong 64.
I got an- What'd you give that game?
You give it a 9.0?
a 9 or a 9.5.
You gave Donkey Kong 64
Goddamn
a
lunatic.
9 or a 9.5?
I believe so. Yeah.
See, these things follow you.
It was really good at the time for the time.
No, it was
No, it
not.
wasn't.
For the
No, it
time it
wasn't.
was. Yes.
No, it
yes.
was not.
Okay.
Don't be naive.
In the category
This is not a
the
Star Fox
category of-
Adventures.
I want.
category of fully vocal rap songs at the beginning of N64 games, it was really good.
That's true.
I want to
yes.
see a re-review of this. I want to
Yeah.
Make
Yeah,
play
I
it
think we
again.
just decided our next re-review.
A
so-
re-review.
Well, I think maybe.
I would love to see that. And then if you do play it again, I need to know if you really think DK64 is better than Star Fox Adventures.
I do. I can already tell
I'm
you.
pretty confident in saying that it probably is.
I do think it is better than Star Fox Adventures.
I mean, they can both be terrible.
Yeah.
Let's not fool ourselves.
I mean, that's kind of a terrible competition.
yeah. Praise of one is not a damnation of the other.
Let's just both agree that let's just all agree that you're both wrote terrible reviews in these cases.
Oh yeah, because Ethan likes Star
Yeah.
Fox Adventures, right?
Yes.
Yes, he did. And that's legitimately a terrible game.
Oh,
So's Donkey
Legitimately
Kong.
terrible.
Let's
No.
not kid ourselves. So I don't know. And you say nostalgia piece. I would imagine that more people have, for as terrible as they are, I would say that more people have nostalgia for the Banjo-Kazooie games than
okay.
for
Yeah.
the first couple Bubsy games.
Well, I
the
mean, you're
2D
talking,
Bubsies.
you're talking a different age. You're talking early '90s for the early
Yeah.
Bubsy games, right?
Right.
And when they were pushing Bubsy, he had his own Thanksgiving TV special and stuff like
Oh,
that.
yeah,
They
he
put
was
a
big.
lot of money into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they really got behind that character.
I'm hesitant to say I was hoping the new Bubsy game would be terrible, just because you could make fun of it.
That's
But
more fun to talk about.
But I think we all just I think everyone kind of assumed that the new Bubsy game would be terrible. And it's my sad duty to report that it's not. It's just kind of there.
Just there. Okay.
It is insane how many 2D and 3D platformers we've had this year, though.
It's very, very average. 7.5 out of 10.
Okay.
That's
There you
way
go.
higher than I would have expected.
I'm playing. I'm joking about the concept of average on a 10-point scale.
Yeah.
No,
I get it. So it's a Game Informer 7.5 you're saying?
Oh wow,
Well,
we're
I
throwing
didn't say
shade
that.
now, aren't we? Yeah,
I didn't say
Wow.
that. Andy
Wow.
McNamara is a really nice guy,
Get
so I
Andy on the
certainly
phone.
didn't say that. I didn't say that. Phil Theobald of the Player One podcast does not support that.
no.
That Ethan Einhorn made. The scoundrel, the cad.
No,
Ethan
their
I
position
had.
was reasonable. They were saying it's more like a school letter score where 70% is a C. That was their rationale.
I mean,
get that.
I haven't finished it yet, and from the sounds of it, though, I'm probably very close to finishing it. But yeah, it's kind of like
All
right
right.
down the middle.
So
You're
what
at
else? You got?
650 yarn balls.
Yeah,
We've talked about Bubsy too much for the fact that
know.
it's an average game. We've spent
As-
like 10 minutes talking about it.
I don't know. I mean, we could strike up a loot box conversation again.
No, let's not do that. What else you got? You got I see
I played some Doom. I bought Doom.
All right.
Hang on,
I
I
picked up-
gotta go do something. Anything else?
Why?
Oh,
What
come
you got
on.
against Doom?
I already know this conversation is going to be insufferable. Please go ahead.
I bought Doom as well.
Yeah.
All I'm gonna say, Greg. All I'm gonna say is that Doom is an outstanding game,
Yes.
and I bought it on the Switch just so I could sit there and play it while my kids watching TV or something like that. And that's it. It's a great
Totally
game.
fair.
Yeah,
Doom
I'm
is
gonna
great.
say that Doom is a great game. I bought it on Switch because it ran at 30 frames a second, and in the preview videos that I saw online, it included some things in the options menu to decrease the field of view, which
Yeah.
is part of what gives me motion sickness. That's not in the retail. That's not in the
Oh,
final
really?
version,
Whoops.
which really sucks. Although you can turn off the motion blur and some of the look smoothness, but it still, unfortunately, gives me a headache super fast, like 5 minutes. I'm like ready to shut it off.
That's too
So
bad.
I have to put on my C-bands and take my Dramamine and play me some Doom.
Oh man.
Well,
The only
Even
way
with
I'm
the-
able to do it, sadly.
even with a drop to 30 frames a second, though, when you're in the gameplay, it still absolutely feels like Doom. I don't
yeah.
feel a difference. I know it's there, and when you start to play the game, honestly, when I jumped into it the first time, I'm like, ooh, this really does look like a more significant hit on the resolution than I expected. It's definitely soft in its visuals, but when you're moving around the environments, the frame rate is solid, and I'm having as much fun playing it as I did on the other platforms. And the multiplayer, I just hit level 50 today. I'm having a really good time with that too.
Damn.
Someone's
damn.
playing Doom multiplayer.
Yeah, it's fun.
A lot of people are
Weird.
apparently. Apparently, it's very easy to find a game and whatnot.
That's
Yeah.
really weird.
Yeah, I do wonder how many games. I mean, we already know Bethesda's bringing Wolfenstein to the New Order to Switch as well. I do wonder, like, how many of the current gen games can go through this process, like Doom has, and I'm sure Wolfenstein will as well, where the resolution takes a hit and have it still be playable or still like feel like the actual like a full version of the game, because I don't imagine that we will see something like Assassin's Creed Origins coming out on the Switch and having
No.
it be the exact same experience.
Though, you know what it looks a lot like, CJ, to me is I think the fair comparison is like playing Titanfall or Metal Gear Solid 5 on the Xbox 360.
Mhm.
Right, where it doesn't look as good as it does on the modern consoles, but it's still absolutely playable. And the big question to me is the audience big enough? Because there was a big enough audience on 360 PS3 to justify it. I
Right.
hope there is here, because if there is, like Wolfenstein 2, I am waiting to pick that up until it comes out on the Switch, just because I like that flexibility. But it would be fantastic if they would release games and say, hey, if you want to play 4K, we have a version for that on the Xbox One X. If you want to play, on the go, we have that on Switch, and it's just up to whatever is easiest for you as a consumer. I think that would be great.
Yeah, and I think the fact that the Switch has the Unreal Engine already, and a lot of games are done using that, and Ubisoft brought over their engine for Mario plus Rabbids, so a version of their engine exists on the Switch. It'll just be interesting if in 2018, if we start seeing more AAA games coming out, and what the graphical hit is, and if they get out in front of it, like Bethesda did with Doom, where you had a lot of previews and a lot of Digital Foundry videos even before the game was out, talking about how well it was done, or if it'll be kind of like LA Noire, where it's sort of like, oh, a week before we're going to show you a trailer on the Switch to show you what it looks like, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
you better hope that Doom and Wolfenstein sell well, because I think
hope
they
they
have
do
a lot
too.
riding on these games.
And Skyrim.
Yeah.
And Skyrim, sure. And I do
and
think
it's not just for Bethesda. There's a lot riding on these games for a lot of other companies.
That's true. And for Nintendo as well.
And what's also going to be interesting is looking at Skyrim. Skyrim is adapting a game that was built for 360 PS3.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that
that's a
is
little
going
different.
to look better, because Doom, again, it's an incredible technical accomplishment that you have a fully playable current gen shooter, but it doesn't look as good as PS4 or Xbox, and you really do feel like a lot was sacrificed visually. I wonder if Skyrim is going to look less like a compromise, even though it is an older game because of the tech.
Yeah. I'm really curious. I won't
Closer to the source material.
be
Yeah.
buying that game, but I'm very curious to read the reviews and see people's comments on that game.
I think too the big
Which
thing
one are you
is
buying?
Skyrim.
Okay, yeah.
I think too the big thing is, like we're talking about the visual hit. I mean, the upside to it is if you play mostly in handheld mode, is that really going to make a difference?
No.
It doesn't make a big difference in the campaign mode. I will say that the multiplayer, again, it's fully playable. The frame rate is really solid. I'm having a blast, but it does look noticeably rougher than the campaign.
Really, even on the little
Yes.
screen. Oh,
Yes.
okay. Well, that's interesting to me because,
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, clearly you shrink down the screen like that, then you tend to not notice graphical blemishes as much. So,
Right.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, if you take out the portability, it's so clearly the lesser version, right?
right.
And if you don't really crave that portability, there's no reason to buy this if you have other platforms.
No, that's kind of, I know that for me that's exactly the deal, because the other thing is and we've had this discussion before, but I do not see how playing a first person shooter in portable mode on that thing would be enjoyable at all with those controllers.
It's
Well,
actually
here's the thing-
surprisingly good. Like
Yeah.
when the
I'm sure
Vita
it
was
controls
around,
well.
with the very small analog that the Vita had, I didn't really enjoy first-person shooters on that because I thought the range of motion wasn't enough where I really felt like I could control it well. But on the Joy-Cons, actually, I don't really have a problem with that. It
I
feels
think
pretty
also
good.
Doom is uniquely suited to play well in that configuration because Doom is set up where it's a lot of horizontal movement with a reticule, not very much vertical, right? So you're
True.
spraying left and right, very little up and down. There's no iron sights, so you're not having to, try to get headshots, stuff like that. You never really, or at least I don't ever focus on trying to get headshots in Doom. So if you're doing Call of Duty, I wonder if it would feel as good as Doom does. But
That's
Doom
a good
does feel
point.
good.
I'm talking more about the ergonomics of the thing, but yes, I see what you're saying.
Alrighty.
There you go.
So
Well, that's
I'd
Doom.
say recommended if you were looking for a first-person shooter on Switch.
There you go.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, Doom's awesome.
If you like
sure.
games like this, then you'll like
you
this
need it to
game.
if you need it to be portable, then obviously, yeah.
It's a very, very solid review.
Oh no, but I mean, come on, Phil. What I'm saying is this
portable-
is not
Portable
not
Doom
Call of Duty
fans
Black
rejoice.
Ops declassified, right? This is not Call of Duty Vita where you would want to discourage people from playing it.
Yes.
Right. I think that's absolutely correct. Ethan, why don't you tell us about what else you've been playing, which includes another video game mascot from our past that is also climbing to the top of the proverbial yarn
According to
ball.
Metacritic.
That's right. So I plunked down
Not
my
a Metacritic.
$40 to pick up the Switch version of Sonic Forces. Now, I want to make a very important qualifier. I worked in some capacity on every Sonic game from Sonic Heroes to Sonic Boom, mostly from a marketing side, sometimes just from a feedback perspective within Sega. So take that for what it is. But I really, really enjoyed this game. What I liked about it is that I think that the 3D Sonic games, at their best, unlike any other game, really capture that superhero feeling of super speed. I don't think there's any other game that does it as well. And this game feels like one big satisfying roller coaster ride. And the best thing about it is that whereas all of the other 3D Sonic games have a lot of filler in between. Going to a hub world, having to slowly unlock stages in Sonic Generations, say through tons of repetition, variations on prior levels. This just lets you go through every single roller coaster sequentially without any padding. And that means the game feels short. You'll finish it in about 5 or 6 hours. It took me just under 6 hours to finish the game. But the upside to it is I had so much fun doing that I just started the game all over again, going from medium difficulty to hard. And I'm just having a really, really good time going through these stages. It is at its strongest near the beginning, and at the end you can feel like they were kind of hitting some deadline issues probably because some of those sequences are rougher. The end boss is a difficulty spike, which is surprising and frustrating. And it definitely lacks polish when it comes to those secondary goals like picking up the red rings and stuff. You'll see them, but you'll zip past them and have to remember where they were as opposed to try to figure out where to get them, which is not that fun. But just getting through the stages is really, really fun. And is this something that any of you guys have any interest in playing at all or not?
I'm always playing a new Sonic game, but I'm not crazy enough to pay a full price for it.
I mean, $40 versus 60. It's nice that they made that concession.
40 versus 60 is more like 60 versus 90 up here.
Yeah, that's true.
It's not. If even 40 I wouldn't consider that I don't know. Yes, it's cheaper. Okay, but I wouldn't call it an impulse buy personally.
Mm-hmm.
I played the demo at PAX.
Okay.
Yeah,
and that wasn't enough to sell you on it.
I think
that was enough to remind me that Sonic 3D games are not very fun.
I would disagree with that. I
agree with Phil. Let me just say that I haven't been into a 3D Sonic game in a long time, and Sonic Mania scratched the itch that I wanted.
When you have Sonic Mania,
so
it's Blair Farrell in our chat channel mentioned that he's been watching them play it on Game Grumps and how it is amazingly terrible fan fiction. That's how 3D Sonic games have felt for decades now.
That's sure.
That's like 20 years.
The storytelling isn't great. I would disagree that it's not fun. I do think that it is fun, but I will say that if you haven't found past 3D Sonic games to be fun, you probably won't enjoy this. But I'm a little surprised to hear you say that, Phil. Did you not like Sonic Colors or Sonic Generations?
Sonic Generations was okay.
Sonic Generations, though, had a nice smattering of 2D side-scrolling stuff in there.
That's true.
To make up for it. And this wasn't terrible. 3D Sonic isn't always bad, but it's been more bad than good for 20 years now.
Though this really does have a lot of the Generation stuff. You do have Pudgy Sonic in it, and you do have 2D stages. So it is nice to have that in the mix.
I have Sonic Mania now, so I don't need like
pretend. But it's different. I mean, Phil,
I know it's different. That's the problem.
Those branch, and I think that both are totally valid expressions of Sonic. They're just different. If anything, I think it's nice that you have, Sonic Mania so that you can enjoy that. And if you like 3D Sonic, also still get the contemporary Sonic.
I will be all over this when it's $20.
I think you'll like it.
One of the PAX demo stages was of the press up and then just kind of watch what happens variety that reminded me that 3D Sonic games are just
wow. I totally disagree with that.
Emoji again.
I think that they can be mixed in quality, but I think that they can also be a ton of fun. And this one was a ton of fun.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's interesting because the response editorially has been mixed to negative, but there have been some.
It's been mostly negative. Let's be honest.
Yeah,
under 60 on Metacritic.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jim Sterling responded pretty positively to the game. Game Informer said it was, among the better of the 3D Sonic games. So again, if it's the type of thing you like,
praise.
I'm just saying it's fun. It is a fun game.
Slow down though. Game Informer said it was one of the better 3D Sonic games, but they still scored at 65.
Yeah, we just talked about what 65 is, though. I mean,
below average.
Bear in mind,
really bad.
Right. But no. They gave Shadow by way of comparison a 2 out of 10.
Shadow was terrible.
That deserved.
Okay,
that.
but what I'm
Again,
saying
this is
like on the spectrum.
but this is like comparing Star Fox Adventures to Donkey Kong 64 again. I mean,
There we
yes,
go.
it's better than Shadow the Hedgehog. That's, is it better?
Okay,
than
I'll be
Colors?
more.
Is
I'll
it
be
better
more
than
interested
Sonic
in hearing if
Adventure?
you. I'll be more interested in hearing if you feel that way after you've played it.
No,
That-
I
that
know,
I
but
think
you're just talking about the mixed to negative reviews, and you're calling out Game Informers saying that it's one of the better 3D Sonics, but they're saying it's a bad game.
I just listened today to the podcast, and they were talking
Okay.
about it, and the tone was positive on the podcast.
Okay.
I haven't actually read the review. I've seen the score, but I haven't read the review. But
Well-
the podcast is positive. I'm just saying, if you like 3D Sonic, it's a fun game.
Okay.
Well, I'm just looking at Metacritic here, and I'm seeing the Metacritic score for Sonic Forces, and I'm seeing the Metacritic score for Clash Royale.
Mhm.
And I'm saying,
oh God.
I know. No.
Wow.
Clash Royale is one of the best slots
God.
games ever made. It's a great slots.
boy,
Yeah.
But I'm talking about a video game. So
oh boy, here we go.
No,
You know,
we're not
I-
going
what's-
there. What's Star Fox Adventures on there?
I don't know, actually.
It's probably higher.
Well,
Well, they've got those outlier reviews from Game Now. That's what throws them off.
yeah, that's, I'm looking on here. You know, I actually picked up. I haven't played it yet, but I did pick up Wolfenstein 2, the new Colossus,
Yeah.
this past week. But now I'm sitting down and I'm gonna because I need to play through the first one. So I'm gonna play through that first. But I do
Why?
have.
Why?
Why not?
Well, I mean, it's a good game, but I don't think that that's a game that you need to have experienced the previous one to get this one.
Really?
apparently
Go
they
shoot Nazis.
no. Apparently it picks up
Oh.
like immediately after.
Well, no,
the
it
first one.
does, but
Yeah.
the intro explains everything
you-
that's happened. That's all.
Yeah, but you know, I'd like to experience it. I don't
sure.
want to. I'm not going to go see Thor Ragnarok and just expect someone to say, "Oh, here's what happened in that terrible Thor Dark World movie."
I went and saw Thor Ragnarok without having seen any Thor movies,
Really?
Yep.
How,
and I
how'd
don't
you
feel
like
like I missed out on anything.
it? How do you like it?
It was fantastic.
Yeah?
Thor Ragnarok, so good,
I
so
need to go see
good.
it. I need to go
You
see
do
it.
need to go see it.
I do need to go see it.
Yeah.
But no, I'm gonna play through the first Wolfenstein. Well, not the first
Okay.
Wolfenstein, but
No,
Wolfenstein.
was it Return to Castle Wolfenstein? Was that was that
I believe,
Old
I
Blood,
believe
New
that was
Blood?
the
That's what
first
it is.
one.
the one? What CJ said?
Yes.
Old Blood, New
Yeah.
Blood.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or whatnot. Okay. Well, I've been playing most of that stuff too, and I
Cool.
also reloaded up Zelda Breath of the Wild because you know what? They
What?
added a little side quest for Xenoblade Chronicles 2. You can get the armor of the main character from that game in Breath of the Wild, and the side quest is just called Xenoblade Chronicles 2.
Yeah.
You have to go to a couple spots on the map. It's not really that challenging
Doesn't
of
sound canon at all.
a side quest.
Hmm.
But yeah, like the big Switch T-shirt was canon too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I have been playing a little more Zelda Breath of the Wild. I decided to throw on the Korok mask that I had and got some more Korok seeds. And I'm anxiously awaiting the next DLC thing. I also picked up these little amiibros for
Oh, nice.
Zelda Breath
Oh,
of the
did you
Wild
get all of them or just the two?
champions.
The
I
champions.
got all of them. You
Okay.
can't hold all these amiibos in my hand.
Oh my gosh.
I
I
got.
wonder if they
yeah,
will
4 of
do
them.
anything in the DLC.
I don't know, but they do unlock new Guardian-based armors for Link.
That's cool.
So that's pretty cool.
Why are you wasting time buying Zelda amiibos when you can be heading to McDonald's to check out their fantastic new Happy Meal toys featuring Pokemon?
I'll have to do that at some point too.
Nah, I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like my toys to give me some kind of reward in game, though. So
Well, these give you food.
well,
These
food's
give you
good.
Food you can actually
I like
eat.
food.
I mean, you know, if you,
I mean, I don't
it's
like
McDonald's
to eat
food,
McDonald's at all.
so
But okay.
so take that for whatever that's worth. But
Okay.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, hopefully we'll get word about the Zelda Breath of the Wild DLC soon. I thought it was
I'm
going to be around the
expecting a
time.
Nintendo Direct sometime in the next week or two.
I would think we'd hear something about that if it's going to hit before the end of the year.
Yeah.
I mean, I watched some of the some of the footage from Japan Expo that they showed, and I'm interested.
Mhm.
I'm ready to get back into Breath of the Wild. So, yeah, should be good.
Yep.
No.
Anyway, yeah, that's all I've been playing. So let's go
Cool,
into
man.
tweets.
Oh, before that, just real quick. So Xbox One X, I have seen them in plenty of stores. So I really am curious how that's selling, because it doesn't look like, at least out here, it was a sell out. Have you seen
I
them
actually-
in retail?
I have not seen them at retail. Yeah, I went to
Okay.
a couple stores, did not see them. So I don't know what that means, but
Well, it's
Yeah.
the battle of the anecdotal evidence. So we're really
that's right.
I think we've been beaten up too many times by Nintendo, where Ethan thinks that the fact that something's available in stores means it's not selling.
I did see
What
a
do you
Super.
mean?
I saw
Did
Super
I- what did I
Nintendo
say that before?
Classics.
What?
SNES Classic, he saw?
Yeah, I saw Super NES Classics in the store this week.
nobody wants them.
No.
Nobody wants them.
Yeah.
Failure.
Nintendo is doomed.
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
Doomed.
I suppose so. Should we do some tweets?
Do it.
Sure.
I don't know. Let me see. Tweet, 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 tweet.
Alrighty, this one comes from hacker alias Tron. Just Tron.
Just try.
on
Wow.
our Discord. And
Okay.
he asks, how do you all deal with FOMO? That is fear of missing out.
For
If,
us, by us is what that means.
I don't think that's what that means.
No. I hate not being able to buy and play all the new games that everyone else is. So how do we deal with FOMO?
I've stopped caring about it.
Yeah. When you're old, you stop caring.
That's
No,
that's correct.
but to be totally honest, because I still buy way too many games, and
Mhm.
I still buy way too many games that sit there unopened.
Yeah.
I've slowly been backing down on that a little bit,
Right.
and I really am to the point where, I mean, I kind of get my fix from talking to you guys, because you guys play stuff that's different enough that I get to hear about the different games that, I can decide whether, I don't want to miss this
right.
based on
Yeah.
that.
Yep.
Right. Even going back to the Sonic conversation we just had, hearing that Ethan likes the way that plays, yeah, I'll grab that sometime then.
Mhm, mhm.
Without that, I probably would never have picked it up.
Hmm.
And knowing that it's something that I can play through quickly, also very important. But I am well past the point where I've got to own a game the day it comes out and be playing.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
thing that makes that easier is that on Black Friday, a lot of these games are already going to be half price.
That's true.
True.
Well, but the big issue for me is, like, in my back catalog, I have games like what is it, the Xenosaga? What was the one that came out on Wii U?
Xenoblade Chronicles X.
The Blade Chronicles X.
Xenoblade Chronicles X, which I have not played. Deus Ex, which I have not played. Call of Duty, which I have not played. I have this back catalog of games from last Christmas that I just never had the time to play. And this year, the big difference for me is that, with the exception of Assassin's Creed, I have only been purchasing games on one platform, and that's actually made it a lot easier for me to slow
It
down
would.
the cadence of purchases.
Yeah. It definitely would.
Yep.
And I still feel like I'm, indulging in getting everything I want. It's just not like, 6 games a week. It's, maybe a game a week.
You did more than a game a week.
Yeah, I was going to say, that doesn't sound like...
The fact that you
I
have to
guess
say
when
you're cutting down
you're-
from buying 6 games a week.
What you're saying is you're focused on one platform.
Yeah,
so
which
it's
would
no
make
longer
things
spread
easier.
out. That
For
makes
sure.
sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I have tried to cut down on my game purchases. And I'm purchasing a lot on Switch also, just because I'm excited about that platform. And it allows me to play games while other people are using the main television, and that is important to me. So there you go. All right. Let's do this one from Peter 740689005, who says,
Yeah. You may know him as the Family Guy.
would you like to see Turok make a comeback?
No.
And if so, what direction would you like the IP to take?
I'd be fine with that. I did like the whole thing they did before with really upping the impact of the melee kills on the last version of the game.
What was the last version of the game? What did they do a
Wasn't that the
PS3?
one that was going to be incredible and then ended up just being absolutely terrible?
Yeah, it wasn't terrible. It just average. I mean, terrible was Turok Evolution. Come on. I mean,
was this the one?
well, I don't
which
know
was the one that you're going to take a week off work to play?
that was Turok Evolution, and that was
so
terrible.
that's the one I was referencing.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that was terrible. But no, the other one, the problem was it was just exceedingly average. But it was cool in that they had the stealth stuff. I enjoyed it. I would happily play something that was a continuation of that. But obviously, it didn't have a big enough impact to make it worth Disney's while to continue doing it. Because I know that the license landed with them. So
Oh, really?
yeah.
Okay.
It says
Weird.
a lot if you guys don't even remember it existed.
Yeah.
Well,
Exactly.
I remember Turok existed. I just
No,
Turok-
like that it came out on 360 though.
that's yeah. Okay.
I know this is thrown around about a lot of games from the past, but I'm just going to say Turok was never good.
You know what? I think that Turok lives in that. Here we go. I'll up the ante here a little bit. I think Turok exists in that weird place where everyone has fond memories of it because console shooters weren't a big thing at the time.
Right.
yeah.
Right.
People remember it more fondly than they should. Kind of like GoldenEye.
Exactly like GoldenEye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'd say you
Yeah.
compare those. You compare those two.
Perfect
and there's
Dark,
a
GoldenEye,
huge
Turok.
difference.
There's a huge difference. I mean, I'm not comparing, Star Fox Adventures to Donkey Kong 64, but neither of those were great first-person shooters. They were good. They were considered really good at the time because they were new. It was
Well.
something new to consoles.
Well, okay. So then, Super Mario Kart on SNES, is that good? Because that, like GoldenEye, has been outclassed dramatically,
Played
but
Super
it's
Mario
still
Kart?
fun.
It's all right.
Yeah.
It's not great.
But I'd say that the comparison carries. I mean, it's like GoldenEye is to first-person shooters what SNES Mario Kart is to kart racers.
I don't know if I would agree with
I
that.
don't think I go that far.
Okay, well, that's where I'd put it.
Okay.
What I would always like to see is somebody take a mediocre license from the past and make an awesome game out of it, right?
Sure.
Like, that's what you really want to
That
see.
would be the
is
fun,
something
surprising
yeah.
thing.
that eclipses your
Yeah.
expectations for the Bubsy license or the Turok license or the GoldenEye license or whatever. You want to see them outclass what was done previously. So I'd be interested in that. If suddenly Turok came out and it was like an amazing first-person shooter adventure game,
I don't
or
see that
whatnot,
ever happening.
that's probably not going
Who
to
the
happen.
hell's
though.
clamoring for Turok?
Nobody. All right. Hacker alias Hamvrag says, what 2017 release did you miss out on that you regret and you are planning? And are you planning to catch up?
Uncharted Lost Legacy. I have not played yet.
Oh yeah, I need
That's
to
a-
do that myself.
That is a good one. Horizon.
Horizon. I
I-
have not played yet.
I still have Horizon sitting in a packing box somewhere. No, it's open. It's just
Okay.
packed in my boxes. I need to
Yeah.
unpack my media.
That's
I'll
the
play
one I'd
Resident
go with.
Evil 7.
I put about 6 hours of Horizon in, and I had a great time, and I just was not able to continue it. So I want to get back and finish it before the end of the year, because I do think that's going to be an important one to talk about for Game of the
Hellblade.
Year.
Somebody in the chat,
Hellblade.
Blair
Oh,
Farrell,
yeah.
just mentioned Hellblade. That was actually I got to go add that to my to-do list right now.
Oh yeah.
That's a good
Yeah.
one. Yeah.
It's like it keeps coming up, and then when I think about writing that down, I forget the name of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There we go.
All right, hacker alias Mathman1024 says, any holiday shopping advice for gamers? I just told a friend that if he was serious about getting a Switch for Christmas, he better do it soon. He texted me later to say he had one in hand and was checking out.
Probably
That's
a
good
smart
advice.
idea.
I would say the
I
same
would-
thing for the Super Nintendo Classic, even though we are seeing them around. If there's a rush, you never know.
That's
And
true.
Xbox One X. As I said, I've seen them in stores, but those I think will be scarce.
I
come
looked that
holiday.
up, Ethan, actually, and just so you know, just because you were asking, it's selling well, apparently.
Oh, good. That's
Um,
great.
Analysts, IHS Market and Wedbush Security both upped their sell-through estimates from 500,000 to 900,000 after the first week.
That's great.
That's not.
So,
Well, yeah.
no,
we'll
that's
see.
just their estimates. They're saying that they're not.
Yeah.
It's not going to make a dent in the whole market share against PlayStation because the PS4 has major momentum too. But
Sure.
it's selling better than they expected.
That's
and
good.
when I'm saying they, I'm talking market analysts, not Microsoft. I don't know what Microsoft was considering it.
I don't think Microsoft has said anything, and I doubt that
And I
they'll
doubt they will.
break the numbers out.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I would say if you see the thing, buy the thing. Like, don't wait
Yeah,
up
pretty
because
This close at this point, pick it up.
remember
Don't
last
wait.
year and the 3DS, like suddenly around Black Friday, it was like, can't get
Impossible.
a 3DS for Christmas. Like it was completely gone. So,
Yeah.
Yep.
Which also means don't wait for the Black Friday sales unless you absolutely must.
true.
Yeah, I would almost look at the Black Friday stuff as far as video games go as kind of a bonus. It's like, get the thing that you definitely want to get, but if you see something super cheap that you were, sort of waffling on, then grab it. Then.
Mhm.
Hacker alias P.O. Rowe says, after playing Mario Odyssey for 70 plus hours, I think it's the best single player game ever. Best
Wow.
level design ever as well. It's everything Nintendo does well, perfected into one game. Where do you rank it?
Interesting.
Right below LA Noir.
But above
terms of-
GoldenEye 64?
Yeah, well, obviously.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, that's not a single player game.
I mean, I said
No.
I don't know where I would rank it in all single player games ever created.
What
But
about all single player 3D Mario games?
single player 3D Mario games, yeah, it's top 3 for me.
It's up
Definitely.
there for sure.
It's
I'll-
a masterpiece.
3D
I'll take
Mario
it a
games, I
step-
put it as number 1 for me.
Yeah. I would take it a step further and say now that I've had the time to get 300 plus moons, and I've put about 30, 35 hours in, something like that. It is my favorite Mario game.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
I
not
gotta
really
say,
counting
like,
the 2D stuff because I have great memories of that 2D
Sure.
stuff. But
Yeah.
3D Mario's, I don't think there's better than this.
I would say for me it's between that and Mario 64. And I kind of Mario 64 is a masterpiece as well, but I'm kind of curious how much of that is how new and fresh and different
yeah.
Mario 64 was.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say this:
Yeah.
Mario 64 was
Yeah.
only good because it was the first of its kind. It's not a very good game.
I don't agree with that.
I don't know if I would agree with that. I think it is aged.
I'm telling tales out of school. I'm yanking your chain here.
It has aged much better than other 3D platforms
Yeah.
released after Mario 64.
But I'm gonna say this though: those Galaxy games are really darn good.
They are damn good.
They're
Yep.
good. And
They're
I would
around
totally
as well.
respect anyone who said that they preferred those. But I would say that if you're looking at best all-time single player games, I do know confidently that, well, I'd have to give some thought as to the order. Both Breath of the Wild and Mario Odyssey would make my top 5 of all time.
Yeah, okay. I don't know how you would possibly be able to make that distinction, but
Well, how could I not? I mean, what are you
out
talking
of the
about?
thousands of single player games you've ever played,
Yeah.
okay. I don't. I'm just, that's a sure.
I just want to limit mine to Mario games. Yeah, I don't. I can't offhand just rattle off all the great single player games that I've played in my entire life.
Right. That's kind of what I was getting at.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I don't
No,
want
I'm
to.
fine. I'm fine placing my my flag in the sand there. Absolutely.
Okay. Okay. All right. Hacker alias Miri says, since it turned out that Doom is really good and Skyrim had good previews before, do you think Bethesda's venture into Switch will pay off?
If
Hope
they
so.
sell,
Yeah.
I mean, do we think they'll sell? That's the real
Yeah.
question.
yeah.
Is this going
I
to pay
mean,
off for them?
it's so hard to say because I think the biggest challenge is these are all games that have come out before, in many cases, well before on other platforms that run the games as well or better. And at a lower price. So if you have any other machine and you don't care about portability, Skyrim, for instance, you can get for less than $10 on PC.
Sure.
So, I mean, that's a huge thing. So if it fits your sweet spot, which it definitely does mine, right? For me, it's absolutely worth the $60. Then it's a dream come true. But I just don't know how many people are like me. And if you have free access to the TV whenever you want it, why wouldn't you buy a better version for 1/6 the price?
Well, to me, look, you kind of look at the history of handhelds, right? And games like Super Mario Brothers Deluxe. Yeah, I mean, yeah, we played that on other systems, and I bought it again on Game Boy Color, and then bought it again on Game Boy Advance. And some of these things, if you have a system where you have a different style of play, where it's not just connected to a TV, I could totally see people really getting into it, especially because at retail right now, the number of physical Switch games is pretty low, right?
Yeah, I think that's an important distinction in what you just said there, which is that, yeah, you did rebuy Mario as Super Mario Deluxe on the Game Boy Color, but that was 13 years after the original game came out.
That's true.
Yeah.
And you're talking about one of the greatest at that point, and still is one of the greatest games ever made. I mean, it restarted the industry, right? So,
Yes.
they're not. It's not an apples to apples comparison, I don't think. But yeah, I mean, they have to sell well. These have to sell well. I don't know. It's great to hear that they're turning out well. I mean, that is definitely the first hurdle, and that was a big concern that I had as far as Bethesda doing these games on the Switch. And it sounds like they've sorted out the technical side, so that's great. Now they just have to sell.
Yeah.
And
I
is
think
there a market? That's a really good question.
I think what happens here, and it seems like anyway from Doom on the eShop, it's already, I think it's in the top 3 in North America at the moment, or in the US.
Somebody said it was top 3 in Canada, for what that's worth.
Yeah, so that's already pretty good. If this experiment pays off, I think it's going to signal to other third parties.
Yeah.
I mean, not just Bethesda, even though I hope that they continue making games on Switch, and I hope things like Fallout 4, or even dig back in the catalog, bring out New Vegas and Fallout 3 for this thing. I would totally be into that. And if other publishers want to do the same, like Assassin's Creed Rogue that I never played on last gen, bring that to Switch, I'll totally play it.
Though a huge handicap for the platform remains file size. So,
sure.
Doom, again, remember they had to offload all of the multiplayer as a download. And the other issue is, like, LA Noire, for instance, like, it can't fit in the internal memory that comes with the machine. You must own a memory card if you want to download that game. This is a big deal. Because it's not just that it reduces the number of people who can buy it. The other issue is you can't just take this game and pop it onto a disc for another platform. You have to really cut down the file size to make it viable, and that's I would imagine a bigger task than like MGS5 coming to 360 as well as Xbox One, right?
Definitely. Yeah. Time to buy that memory card. Because you'll need it. Even if you buy Doom physical, you have to download the multiplayer, and other games have the same issue. I don't have that issue because I'm all digital, and I still have like 60 or 70 gig on my 200 gig card, so I'm still good.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, and I found I go the other way. I have plenty of room, even though I bought a ton of games, because most of what I've bought is on cartridge.
There you go. Let's wrap it up with this one from hacker alias D. Amuzen, who says, rumors of a new PS Portable console popped up since the Switch launched. I think you guys will remember that patent filing that popped up there.
Never gonna happen.
As a Vita lover, I feel burned by Sony since they have a habit of abandoning their portables. Would you invest in a new gen PS Portable, or is it all Switch till the Switch U is announced?
So first of all, it's not going to happen. Second of all, if it did happen, I could imagine it would be something like a $500, handheld that's basically a portable PS4 that comes out at a time in which it's much lower cost to have like a terabyte of storage on the machine or something like that. I mean, you'd have to have so many things lined up to make that happen that I don't see it happening for another 4 or 5 years. And at that point, even if they could pretty easily bring PS4 games over, would people care anymore?
Yeah. Good Good question.
That's a good point. I think, and we've talked about this, I think, on the show before, that Sony and Microsoft are both already down a path, right? They have chosen the PC architecture for their consoles, and they're all in with that. And you can't switch from that and do what Nintendo did with the Switch and use a mobile operator or a mobile chipset and go all in with that. So it's going to be very difficult, if not impossible, for Sony or Microsoft to do the same thing that Nintendo has done. It would have to be a completely new platform, and I would imagine that just doesn't work in this particular era that we live in, where portable only game consoles are dead, right? I think Sony would not be wise to play in that market. If they were able somehow to make a hybrid, which I don't think they would be able to do, then they might do that. But
I think they're years away from being able to do it.
And I think on top of that, again, unless it was something where they could bring like a PS4 catalog to bear, the idea of them doing what Nintendo did and saying, hey, we're doing a hybrid machine that's less powerful, but is portable, I think that would upset a huge number of their players that wouldn't want a lower fidelity Last of Us 3, for instance.
Yeah, because it didn't work with Vita or PSP.
Right. I think it's so, and I don't blame. I forget you said who you said actually asked this question. I don't blame them for feeling this way, because I feel most PSP and Vita owners probably feel this way, which is to say that Sony has a history of abandoning their portable systems. I feel so bad, especially to hear that about the PSP, because the PSP actually lasted quite a while and it has a really good library.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it didn't get the support from Sony that we would have liked to have seen at the end of its life, but I mean, they didn't replace the PSP until the Vita came out, which was like a 6-year span, 6 or 7 years. Yeah. I think that maybe the idea of how long a portable console is supposed to be viable has been skewed by the fact that like the Game Boy was around for over 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's too bad, just because, and I feel like, the Vita, I would kind of go along with that. Not so much that they abandoned it, but they just didn't do the right things with it. But with the PSP, like that was a good little system, and it has a really good library. And it's a shame that it's sort of been bundled in with the whole, Sony abandons their portables more because of the Vita than anything else.
Yeah.
Now, all of this being said, though, when you see Nintendo break out how people are using the Switch, and not surprisingly, more than 50% are using it on the go and docked, it's a use case that people really, really like. So I do think that if you're talking about maybe 10 years down the line, where we reach a point in technology where, we've kind of hit a certain threshold where it's really viable to have something that is both powerful and in a small form factor, and storage is reasonable, then clearly there is a demand and an interest in being able to do what you can with Switch with really any device. And I think that that's likely something we'll see from the other companies when they can have the top fidelity experience in that form factor, which is not now.
I think one of the things that worked in Nintendo's favor with the Switch, and that I think Sony and Microsoft will have a very difficult time extricating themselves from in the next generation or two, is the whole horsepower race.
Yeah.
Sony and Microsoft have been engaged in it for Sony 20 years now, Microsoft 15 years now or so. Nintendo kind of stepped away from it.
Yep.
In the early 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, them doing what they did with the Switch wasn't really as jarring as far as horsepower went, because they've already got a long history of not being the most powerful thing on the market.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well,
whereas Sony and Microsoft, that's been their entire business model for the last 2 decades. Mm-hmm. So I don't think they could do it as in like the next generation. I think they would have to kind of throttle back a little bit before they could just come out and do something like what you're discussing, which you said 10 years away. Like, they would really have to sort of work up to that.
Well, and I do wonder, incidentally, when it comes to a more mass market audience, not the people who like have 4K TVs, but like that audience, that just is not that interested in resolution. if those people are playing Doom on Switch, are they looking at it and saying, this kind of looks crap compared to the PS4 version, or do they just not care? I wonder, like, what their experience of that is. Do they have any distinction at all, between what Call of Duty would look like on Switch versus Xbox One, or is that just
wonder,
the poor guys?
I think really there, when you're talking about that, when you're talking about whether the mass market cares, I think we really need to step back and look what the definition of mass market is when it comes to video games, because it's not what it used to be.
That's true.
So I mean, I would actually guess that no, that market doesn't care. But I would also guess that market isn't necessarily playing Switches, or, it's hard to say.
Yeah.
Good point. And I think that's where we will end it for this week. What do you think?
All right.
Feels like a good spot to end it.
Down with that?
Yes.
Alrighty, and that is our show for this week. Thank you very much for listening. If you have a question for us or would like to comment on something you heard, you can direct that to @P1 Podcast on the Twitter. And there are more characters you can use now. So, yeah, do that whole thing. We have also got an internet website at player1podcast.com. There you'll find show notes with a list of links of all the things that we talked about. So for this episode, you can go to player1podcast.com/575 and get all the links right there. Right there, served up hot and fresh for you. We've also got contact information there on our website, and we've got a message board where you can discuss this episode with us and our other listeners.
If you'd like to subscribe to the Player One Podcast, you can do so by visiting player1podcast.com or by going to the iTunes Music Store. While you're at the iTunes Music Store, you can also invest $1.99.
Cheap.
Pick up the Player One Podcast iPhone application. Gives you one-touch communication with us via the emails, the Twitters, what have you. Also have all of our episodes ready to stream right to your listen device. And hey, Android cell phone, telephone users, the Player One Podcast iPhone application is available for your listen device as well for that same $1.99.
Also cheap.
You can find that right over there at the Amazon Android Marketplace. We're also on Stitcher Radio. You can like us on Facebook. Add us on Apple Podcasts.
Yeah, huh?
Hey, you got it.
Cool.
That's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
There's no iTunes Music Store.
No. I mean, there is, but
you go to Apple Podcasts. Add us on there.
give us a review too, because those are fun.
Give us a review as long as it's good. We don't care about your negative reviews, you crumb bums. If you want to share your support for the show, you can do so by visiting teespring.com/P1podcast. Pick up a hot new Player One Podcast shirt.
And by hot new, you referring to the yeah. Uh-huh.
That's funny.
Nice.
There we go. It's our new shirt with our new logo on it.
That's right.
You can do that. If you've liked what you've heard, and how could you, head over to patreon.com/P1podcast. You'll find a link to throw a few shekels our way. It keeps CJ swimming in Guardians.
Champions.
Zelda Champions.
That's right.
Zelda Champions.
Overpriced amiibo. Let's just call them what they are.
There you go.
They're amiibo, and they're awesome.
There you go.
Check out this Daruk. Check that out.
There you go. There you go,
That's
YouTube.
High quality.
You're missing out.
Figure.
Yep.
What's that stuck up his butt?
That's what one of them stands. Like Link has.
He's got 2 legs. I don't understand.
Yeah, but they're little legs.
Seems gratuitous.
Sometimes you got to have a stool.
Let's face it, Greg.
He's not going to have any of those with that thing sticking up his butt.
He's doing that. He's doing the stance that Phil did at Scoopfest.
If you, Greg, you got 2 legs. If you could walk around with something sticking out of your butt as well, just to give you that extra little support, wouldn't you do it?
That is a glorious man spread.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a couple bucks left over, head over to generation-16.com where you'll find the Patreon link to help support Greg Stewart's outstanding web series about North America's favorite second banana, the Sega Genesis.
Where the good Sonic games were.
Now that's not fair at all because Sonic Mania is available now for current
where
gen
the
systems.
good
That's
either
true.
the good Sonic games or where the later good Sonic games, what the later good Sonic games were based on. How about that?
There you
Oh,
go.
All right.
Sonic Mania and Sonic Forces this year. Great stuff.
Ugh.
Mm. Remember when he was on our show talking about aliens,
Says the one.
colonial marines?
Says the one guy. Says the one guy who's actually played both. I'll just say that.
I don't know. I'm like you. I'm like you. I just go by reviews.
Reviews can be helpful for sure. Yeah. No. That's totally
I feel like
valid.
they were helpful tonight.
Wow.
Yep.
You went.
But I also
went
don't.
there.
I don't pretend
Bazinga!
that reading the reviews means I've played the game either. And I would say that playing the game is a better way to understand the quality of the game than just reading the
I
reviews.
agree.
True. There you go.
I played a
There
couple
there have
levels
been
in the
several
demo.
games that have had Metacritics of under 60.
Wait a minute.
that I have
Wait a minute. You're
really
saying the
enjoyed,
only
like
person.
Friday the 13th.
You're saying you're the only person that's played the game. Didn't Phil and CJ both say they played the demo?
I didn't say
Yeah,
that.
but I
no.
mean, okay.
Phil said
But come on, playing a demo versus playing through the game is quite a different thing. Yeah.
Is it?
Is it?
If it's a good
I think
demo,
so.
if the demo shows you all the mechanics, is it not the same as playing the game?
Yeah, I mean,
I
I played a push-up stage and I played a side-scroller stage. Those are
I
kind
think
of
it's.
the two.
I think it's very much like saying I saw that Justice League trailer and it looks pretty good, so the movie's good, or the movie's bad because the trailer was not that
I
great.
feel like it's very much like saying I saw the first hour of Justice League and I hated it, and someone saying, "Well, if you watched the first hour and 5 minutes, you'd know what you were talking about."
I saw the
Okay.
trailer and the trailer was pretty bad, and then I looked at the Metacritic score and that seems to back up what I saw in the trailer.
Sounds like a good game.
Well, I'd be more interested in your perspective on it, Phil, if you played through it. That's all.
Well,
remember,
I'm not saying you,
Final Fantasy
you
13.
should. I'm not saying you will, but it
no,
would be a
well,
more interesting perspective.
I can't. No, that's I have too much respect for my time. You could also check us out live most weeks and watch archives of our show on youtube.com/P1 podcast. So go check that out. And you know what? Mr. Respects his time is going to go finish off that Bubsy game. So if you'll excuse me, I'll see you chumps later. CJ,
Yeah.
thank you so much
Well, thank you, Phil.
for everything that you do there. I hope
Oh,
those
thanks.
champions treat you well.
I hope they do as well.
Now, you got all 4 champions there?
Yes, I do.
Of those 4 champion amiibos, which of
Mhm,
those do you think you could fit completely in your mouth?
Hmm. Probably only Mifa. She's the smallest.
Oh, okay. Well,
Which is good
We'll be
because
doing
she
that
looks
in the
delicious.
Patreon
like
only
sushi.
after show.
oh my goodness. Yeah, that's our
No, it won't be.
Patreon. That's our Patreon exclusive extra show. Is
I will
No.
CJ
support this show.
fitting
Putting amiibos in my mouth.
amiibos
Yeah,
in his
no.
mouth.
I guarantee you, there's a YouTube audience for that.
I'm
Oh,
sure
God,
there is.
yes.
Of course there is.
It
Well,
won't-
I already
won't be
did.
me hosting that.
I did. I did fit the squishy Metroid in my mouth. I didn't get the whole tube, which I wouldn't do because that tube is jagged.
Yeah,
I'd be
yeah.
worried about.
You don't want to tear up
Slicing.
your palate or anything. You know.
I don't want to
Yeah.
rip apart my esophagus
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
if I'm going to rip apart my esophagus, it's going to be for science, not for a cheap
Right.
gag
No.
on a stupid podcast.
Hey.
Greg,
Hi.
speaking of stupid. Speaking of stupid, Greg,
Hi.
thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Phil.
It's good to have you here. What are
Same
you going to
to
be
you.
doing? What are you going to be doing on American Thanksgiving?
Working.
Okay, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Checks out.
Ethan,
Yes, sir.
thank you for joining us as well.
You're welcome.
Always a treat to have you. I'm gonna ask a question. I saw this mentioned. I forget who mentioned this in our live chat. Do you have like a tilt or something on your camera? Because we see a lot of your ceiling and not a lot of you.
Oh, okay.
You should adjust your camera. There you go.
All right,
there,
I can
you
do that.
go. There you
We need
go.
to see more
Nice.
Ethan. There you
Ethan
go.
has shoulders.
Nice.
There you go.
Yeah, thank
we
you.
want to see. Ethan,
Yes.
you have such a pretty face. Why are you hiding it?
It's true.
Hide your light under a bushel. You know?
Wow.
So much prettier when you're smiling.
Wow.
Wow.
Oh my.
Here we go. Let's hear a pleasurable squeak from Ethan.
That was nice.
And special thanks to you, our listeners. You're the real star of the Player One podcast. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Especially if you're
Right.
wearing one of our new shirts.
Mm-hmm.
There you
Yes. Yes. All profits from the shirts go to
CJ.
They go to CJ. Yeah, we don't see any of that crap.
go. That's right.
We don't see any of that. We
Yeah.
don't see any of that. Okay. Next week.
Yeah.
do it.
Let's do it.
Next week we'll
I gotta
see
go
what
buy
we can do.
Sonic Forces.
Oh my gosh, it worked.
Yep.
Bye-bye,
Rolling
everybody.
around at the speed of sound. Got places to go, got to follow my
This is
rainbow.
gonna sound great